laser. They stink like that. Remember in Yellowstone? Oh, come on!
What does it mean? Maybe it's an alien, maybe it was prehistoric and it's been there since I think it got really philosophical.
It's just a critique
they cut
of
it really
capitalism.
quickly, but they have this so, yeah,
it'll all go down to the Russians. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Kill of the Week. I am your host Brandon along with my co-host and partner Jill. And today we are sitting with Mel and Sean of Meldar16. So why don't you guys tell us what kill and movie we're talking about today?
Great. So we are talking about the movie Tremors. And the kill from Tremors that we are going to be discussing is Jim the Doctor and his wife, Megan.
The film was directed, and it was his first film directorial debut. He's done TV prior to it. It was directed by Ron Underwood. And he has quite a diverse lineup of films. The three that I've chosen that he's known for is City Slickers, Mighty Joe Young, and The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
Yes.
Excellent. Hard hitters.
Yeah. So he is very diverse.
And
he's also
beautiful 90s canon.
Because he's also directed episodes of Murder, She Wrote. I know you love Murder, She Wrote. He's directed episodes of that. He's done a bunch of those things. The creature design work for the Graboids was designed and created by Alec Gillis, who did makeup effects on and created some effect stuff for Starship Troopers, Death Becomes Her, Prey, and The Sixth Day. And some of the people on his crew, which is really cool, was Howard Berger and Robert Kurtzman of K&B Effects, who've done Evil Dead 2, Creepshow 2, have done basically everything in the 80s. Also, Tom Woodruff Jr. was part of that crew who did Pumpkinhead. They had a bunch of like miniatures and things like that, and a couple visual effects, which was done by Four Ward Productions that did things for The Abyss, Aliens, Batman Returns, Terminator 2, and things like that. Just to backtrack real quick because I know this is just going to trail off. The original idea for the Graboid design, I know, you know.
He giggled like a child.
Oh my god, I laughed so fucking hard that they were to have this like outer shell, and then when they would come up to the surface, the outer shell would spread open to reveal a slimier worm underneath. But the crew made dick and foreskin jokes so much that they had to change it. Which I think is wonderful.
One of the other things I read when we were like watching everything and that I thought was hilarious was that like the whole concept of the movie, like it wasn't the direct like, hey, we need to make like sandworms like Dune. They were just like, we want to make a shark movie, but land. Like, just the dumbest stoner idea in the world. And it's just like sandworms, like Dune. Sandworms, Beetlejuice was already out at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
like there's a bunch of things.
The original title was Land Shark. And there was already a movie called Land Sharks, so they had to change it.
So did they inspire the Sharknado and the, what did you just say?
Sharktopus?
How could they not have?
I mean, probably,
What's the
most
dumbest
likely.
thing you can think of?
Sharktopus is one of my favorites. sci-fi.
I need to see that.
It's so
It's
bad.
right up there with the Gremlins too. It's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
Like that's where we are. Great film.
But yeah.
Although I will say, like, speaking of sharks, Ghost Shark was probably my favorite because I don't know if anyone's seen it or not, but there's this beautiful scene where this kid. So basically, a shark dies and is a ghost and will come up in any body of water, no matter where it comes from. Literally, it comes out of a bucket and fucking eats someone that's just like a bucket of water. But the best and my favorite was this fucking kid was on a slip and slide and was going through the slip and slide and this fucking shark came up and
should do
ate
that as
this
an
kid. Coming soon, the episode of Ghost Shark with the kid.
My poor child.
Oh, God.
Where were his parents? Like, you know,
Yeah,
seems to be a recurring issue. Who's watching you? Who do you belong to?
One of the cool, I don't want to say it's a cool thing, but it's an interesting factoid, the fact of like a creative mind. Everybody here is creative with what they do. The writer, we talked about this a little bit off camera, S.S. Wilson got the idea when he was working for the Navy. He was stationed in California. He was like sitting on a rock and just imagine like, what if there was something in the dirt that like prevented me from leaving this rock?
Yeah.
And that's what like inspired the idea for him to write Tremors, which I thought was a cool thing to be like inspiration can strike literally anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is really,
And
really
he
fucking
didn't
cool.
go with the floor is lava. He decided land sharks.
Yeah.
I was on Letterboxd.
I can't get past it.
I was on Letterboxd because like every time we watch a movie, I log it on Letterboxd, and one of the reviews was literally "The Floor is Lava," the movie. for this
Excellent.
movie.
We love them there.
Yeah, really, it's perfect. And one shout out to my friend Robin said that her review was that Val and Earl can get it. And I was like, that's the best review of this movie ever.
Earl gives me such Dr. McCoy vibes.
Mm.
It's real funny.
Mm-hmm.
He's so grumpy and old and
I would like Earl to be my uncle. Like,
Yeah.
like just that, like, the hard ass, but would like reward you with a beer at the end of the day. Be like, you earned this, kid,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Like, he comes by with like a football, and you're like, look at me, I've never thrown a football in my life, but sure, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Unky Earl.
But I don't know, Kevin Bacon's terrifying.
Ooh, yeah.
This is actually the only movie that I will watch regularly with Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
He's terrifying.
He scares me.
Why? He's got that beautiful accent that he had
No,
and the hat.
his skeleton nose.
So then you like Hollow Man because you never see him.
Yo, fuck Hollow Man. By definition,
Very
he's
strong
not
opinion.
hollow.
He's not Hollow. He's just invisible.
He has mass. Ah!
But yeah, like every other
Oh,
like
he's hollow on the
Dancing, like,
inside.
you know, my family loves Dirty Dancing, and I'm like,
okay.
It's just a
Dirty Dancing?
no, not Dirty Dancing. The other dancing one, Footloose.
Footloose, yeah.
There's so many dancing movies from
You know,
the
there's two
80s.
dancing movies that ever existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note, can we talk about how stupid of a plot Footloose is? We're gonna ban dancing in this town. Like, are you fucking dense?
Funny
Like-
thing, I went to a Mennonite high school, and dancing was not allowed
Not even
On-
giving room for Jesus?
on the campus. So we had to, instead of prom, we had banquet, which was like a dinner, and then we had to go off campus to have our dance.
Okay, so it's based off of true events.
Mennonites are
So the kill that we're talking about is I'm blanking on his name, Jim.
Jim.
Yeah.
Jim-
the Doctor.
and
Jim the Doctor, credited as Jim the Doctor
Yeah.
in
and
the
it's-
film.
Yeah.
And it's
you go to
definitely
that much
like,
school, you want to be credited as much, right?
and it's definitely like a minor character. He's both introduced and murdered in
Yeah.
the same
Like,
scene.
And the best is like his wife too.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
what?
Is actually Phoebe Besch, who plays Carol Marcus in Wrath of Khan.
Oh, okay. See, not being a huge knowledge of Star Trek stuff, that's really fucking
Yeah,
funny.
Do you
Mel
have
and I
something
are
similar to
Trekkies.
Yeah, the mother of the little girl was in Twin Peaks and
Jurassic
Eraserhead.
Park.
Yes.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park girl's mom was in Twin Peaks and Eraserhead.
Yep.
Which is also funny because the wife is also named as the wife of the Doctor.
Yep,
the
yep,
fucking
yep.
credit.
That's the only time. You don't need a name. You just...
Yeah.
Right.
But why did you guys pick that kill? Like, why this kill out of all the kills in cinema?
So pretty much it's kind of the first kill that you kind of get to see some of the creature and kind of what's actually going on instead of people just dropping from screen or, sheep running around like crazy and stuff like that, or someone climbing up a pole. It's kind of like, oh, so this is kind of what's happening. You still don't know everything yet, but you do see kind of like the introduction of what is causing all this.
Yeah, and there's also another little factor why we picked like this movie in general too.
Yeah.
Because Mel's very first D&D adventure book she did. You want to take it from here?
Yeah. So Our Lady of Chaos actually started off. The inspiration for it was a Tremors one shot.
Oh no! I thought I had it on my. I had the other book sitting in my bag, not the Lady of Chaos. That's at home actually.
But yeah, it was kind of I was like, we were all kind of taking turns during COVID running mini D&D one shot, and I was like, let me write a Tremors one shot because that'd be cool. Like, oh my goodness, you don't know what's going on, like suspense and everything. And before we even played, I had 70 pages of notes. So we were like, okay, we're turning this into something more.
Yeah,
And
definitely more than one night of playing D&D.
Yeah, we wouldn't even
Jesus
have been able to
Christ.
make it through it with one night, so it wasn't really a one shot. But
yeah.
It did kind of spark the whole Atera Redux.
That's great.
Kind of creation for it, but
all because of land sharks.
Yeah.
because like it's something where like I would watch it. I don't know. It's like one of those movies that I feel like I watch once every 3 months or something like that. It's like one of those like ones that I'm just like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna watch some like stupid horror movie. That's what can I go? Oh, Tremors.
It's definitely like 90s B movie at its finest. Giant creature attacking small town. It definitely fits that so well. And like the characters in it are great, and they just fit all those roles very well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie since I was probably a teen. So when you brought it up and was like, oh, we're picking this, I was like, fuck, that's like a good excuse to like go back and revisit Tremors.
It made me so happy because I grew up on Tremors. My dad and I used to watch all the time, and it's like this weird comfort movie that it's
watched it a ton.
yeah,
as a
my
kid,
dad
too.
would laugh his ass off the whole time, and it's like this weird comfort blanket that you just put back on, and you're like, yes, this is wonderful.
Yeah, there's something about it. It's like it has this like charm that's like really nice.
Well, we were talking about it too before this, and just one of the things that like really stood out to me is that there's like some of the characters are like goofy, but there's not like the dumb character that for no reason I'm gonna run in the desert, or oh, there's the stoner guy, he's definitely gonna get it.
Yeah.
Like there's not that in the movie.
They're very diverse, 13 people.
Oh my god, I was
range.
so surprised about that.
Who does Melvin belong to?
Yeah, just
I wouldn't care.
random
he
teenage
belongs to the
kid.
community.
Because we had to look it up too, because it's Melvin Plug is his name, which, alright. But none of the other characters had that last name. So he was just some teenage kid that wandered into town and apparently does it often enough that he annoys the shit out of everybody.
Into town, the chick from Jurassic Park wandered into town.
Yeah, the little girl from Jurassic Park, Pogo in the whole time.
Yeah, shit. Like, I mean...
Pretty much everybody acts,
It's
you
a
know,
master.
in a... Well, you know, even that is a little arguable. You could have panicked. But, like, everybody else reacts the same way. Like, they do actual smart things, like, crap, shit's on the ground. I better get up high. Like, just like... It's like, duh, of course you would do that. And now what do you do from here?
And that's the other thing too, like the kill count is not high in this movie at all.
Yeah.
Like the majority of the people, like you lose, so you have the dude that died on the pole, you have the one guy in the beginning that gets killed and his
With
whole
the
flock gets
goat.
killed
Right,
with the goats, and his head is found.
Yeah, the
Which that's a
utility
funny-
workers.
Yeah,
That they have like running throughout the whole
So we're up to
franchise.
4.
the utility workers, and then you have Egg from Big Trouble in Little China,
Yeah.
and then that's it. Everyone else.
And Nestor.
Oh,
the
yeah.
tire guy.
And the tire guy,
And-
yeah.
And our kill and his wife. Wait, this is
Yeah. So,
I mean,
But
there's
not
only
every-
like 13 people in this town. Okay.
but not everybody.
Kills, but they're
Yeah.
spread out well enough. and they all have different purpose.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's the interesting thing.
And
So when
it's
they're
not-
talking, they're like, well, why would he die,
Yeah, why would he-
dehydration on the pole? What was keeping him up there?
So
And
there was
it doesn't
actually
make
a
sense.
scene shot for that.
Oh,
There was
really?
actually an original opening for the movie was going to be that the guy who died on the pole talking with another person because they were talking about like selling like sheep or whatever or goats or whatever. And basically what happened was they were in the middle of a transaction. The graboids came, ate the flock, ate the other guy, sent the dude in the panic and sent him up the pole. But production watched it with a test screening and deemed it was just too boring. Like the test screening, it didn't do
I don't
well.
think it's necessary. I think,
No, it
I think
wasn't.
the question of like why did he choose to die up there is more interesting. Like what kept him up there is more interesting, and then
Yeah.
you start to realize like,
And have it be like a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah, because that was the other thing. Like Earl was going off of like there's a murderer, there's like a serial killer going around and killing everybody.
Yeah, but that death is so much scarier than anything they could have explained. Because that idea that you're fucked if you do and you don't.
Yeah.
Like you just
Yeah.
you,
And he's
you're
up there
watching
for
your own
3 or
death,
4 days.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know if you get down, you're gonna die. And you know if you stay there, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
just, which
well,
works.
which they argued about that on the Rock of like, oh, like if we run, we're dead. Well, if we're dead in 3 days. And I'm thinking to myself,
not
well,
everyone's good at gym class to pole vault.
Oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, you know how to pole. It's like,
Yeah.
who fucking knows how to pole vault?
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, I'm staying here, guys.
Well,
Right, but you guys go head off. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, no. Well, she's done. I mean, I'm
Resigned
glad
to
that.
Which is why I love
I'm
Earl.
glad that they all didn't do it perfectly, but the fact that she just jumped over like it's nothing, I'm like, this is not.
I don't know. She kind of looked like I did this in gym class kind of person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was the, she may not have had the blonde hair, green eyes, and ass that doesn't quit, but she knew how to pole though.
She had that grip that doesn't quit.
Yeah, exactly. She knew how to hold a pole.
Right.
Oh, fuck.
Which is funny because don't they have a kid then in like the 7th
Yeah,
movie or
in one of
something?
the sequels,
Their
yeah.
daughter shows up.
It's Kevin Bacon and
Oh,
her
my
Yeah.
God.
daughter, yeah.
I will say I've only seen 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, 4 is the
The Western,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which somehow is still fucking Bert at the
Yeah,
end of
yeah.
the day.
Burt Gummer is the only common denominator in all of that.
But
He's
he
in all
really
of the
wins
movies.
your heart.
Yeah, he
man.
does.
I
Yeah.
like the first
It's the
movie.
mustache.
Yeah, the first movie it's kind of like, okay, I get your character type. Like I understand what you're trying to do and be.
Yeah.
But then as he's like more like becomes more of the main character over the entire franchise, it's just like, oh, you're actually like a not as crazy. Like
And like especially
conspiracy-
maybe the
conspiracy.
last few movies, he carries it because like he's the only one that's like a decent actor and charming, and everything else is just like, oh, this went straight to DVD or straight to Netflix for a reason.
We were watching it and they had the standoff in the basement and they have that fucking shot of like all the guns.
Yeah.
I was just
You
like,
were
oh
laughing
my,
so hard.
I was fucking dying because like I was thinking to myself, I was like, they were just taking guns and unloading. Either the graboid is like really strong or they suck at aiming because they were just blowing through fucking guns and
Bust
ammo.
that.
Elephant gun.
The elephant gun.
Bust that glass case.
It, like my
And Reba McEntire shooting some machine guns and
Wow,
shotguns
that's
and
something
oh
tells me
my.
she taught Michael Gross how to shoot.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like they,
She was like the gun expert
Yeah.
on set. Like
abso-fucking-lutely.
we were talking about how she's sitting on that rock towards the end, and I'm like, the most unbelievable thing about this movie is that she is sitting there without sunscreen on, and she's not burning
Yeah.
for like 24 hours worth of
That ginger is just not up in flames right now.
It was like that's the most unrealistic.
But then I joked that her hair was so floofy that it was like wearing a like sombrero because it just had the coverage.
One of the things that I like is that she played the most like down-to-earth wife ever. So like the scene when Kevin Bacon and Bert, or Val and Bert rather, were arguing on the rock, and she calms him down, and she's like, I know, he thinks he knows everything. It's just that like mentality, like,
Yeah,
yes, you're right,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
calm down.
But
Like,
seriously, don't punch that guy right now. Like,
There's only 13 people in this town, and half of them are dead now. So
back to the doctor kill. I believe this was in the doctor kill. Like the song that came on the radio in the car. I thought it was Reba, but you said it was Dolly.
It was one of them. It
I
sounds.
think it might be Dolly.
I thought it was. I didn't look it up.
How
It
was it
sounded more like
playing?
Dolly.
Because the keys weren't in the ignition,
True.
right?
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So the lights
I'm
are
not-
on, and we
No,
leave
she never-
our lights on for overnight, and our battery dies.
Yeah.
That was going strong, like a 40.
Yeah, that's
Underground?
The part I don't, that's the part I don't believe. How did your battery not die?
Right.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
funny.
but the kill was fucking gruesome though. Just like
Yeah.
just screaming
The
and just
horror.
murder. Yeah.
yeah, and
It
it's
was
got
mad.
that like
You think
you
you're
know
safe
they're
or
actually
something.
pulling them under.
Yeah, it was
Oh
it
my
was very
God.
much like quicksand and like slow
Yeah.
motion and
So-
not.
Yep.
I was trying to find how they did it. I couldn't find how they did it for the people. So the only thing I can imagine is like they just like dug a hole and kind of had the person going through. But I found like a 1 hour documentary of like behind the scenes for the first Tremors movie. And I kind of scrubbed through it. I didn't watch the whole hour. I scrubbed through it, and they talked about one of the hardest things that they had to do was the car sinking. And the director Ron Underwood was talking about how like it was the last day of principal photography. So it was the last day that they were shooting. They were shooting the car sinking in this hole. So they put the car in basically just like a hole of water that was filled with this dirt-like substance. I'm blanking on what the name was. And the problem was the thing that was supposed to replicate the dirt for the car to sink hardened up with the water. It soaked up all the water. So it would not sink properly. So it took them, so that's why you have like all these fast shots of like the bumper going down. They had to like manipulate that because the material just hardened up and they could not get it to sink properly. Which I thought was like really
It
cool.
was such an awesome idea to not just have him die with the whole car.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they come to discover that, and it's just like, oh,
you hear
crap.
the music and you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And then you just find the top of the
Oh
car.
my god, that was like
awesome.
that was such the cool thing about
You
this
didn't
movie.
need to see the life. You didn't need to see anything
No.
else. The car is enough, and like that's where like when you leave some to the imagination.
They did a great job about that throughout the entire movie of just like, okay, this thing is coming from underground, but the creativity of what they did for it with like when they're running and the poles are fucking sinking.
Yeah.
And like one of
you
those
see those like poofs just in the desert.
Yeah.
And then, oh, it's coming.
And,
And
like,
that's
what-
the scariest thing is the things you can't see.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
leaving it up to your imagination of what's happening with those little elements of it's following you.
So like one of the notes that I found that I thought was really cool was like when they're running into the store and the fucking floorboards are doing that wave effect.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that I found for it was like the wave effect. It was created by they towed a boat buoy behind a pickup truck, and that's how they were able to get it to do that wave. I was like, that's so fucking cool
Because they fucking wreck that store.
dude, oh my
Like,
god,
the
it's
one
so
thing-
cool.
The one thing, like, watching it and, like, trying to pick out little details, they're all on the roof of the store at one point, and the roof, like, because the graboids are, like, sinking the building, the whole roof goes like this.
Yeah.
And it does not, I'm assuming it was some guys, but just, like, it was like, oh, that looks like it would have actually collapsed and hurt somebody.
I'm also impressed that everyone could just climb up on their roofs so
Yeah.
easily. Like, I guess it was, I know it's like only one-story houses,
But still, yeah.
Still.
Yes. The physical peak of the people in this small town was fascinating. Because Miguel, I'm sorry, Miguel would not have made it running from the fucking building to the rock and all that stuff. Because, like, I would not have made it.
The desert hardens you,
Right.
Brandon.
you really are the peak.
But I mean, if
Yeah, exactly.
if Melvin can survive it, I guess
Yeah.
maybe there is a chance.
Right on,
Right.
dude. Oh my god. Fuck that kid so hard.
And it's funny because he does come back,
And he's an asshole
and
in the
he's a
sequels,
total
too.
douchebag,
Oh my
and he's
God.
like, "Oh, you love
He's
to
a
hate him."
realtor.
Oh my god, he's terrible and so punchable.
And in real life, after his acting career in the 90s, he became a blackjack card counter and did a couple like celebrity blackjack things too.
Oh, that's funny.
So he went, from what's the name of it
Melvin
now?
Perfection.
Perfection. He went from Perfection to Vegas.
Oh, God.
It's funny, in the sequels for Tremors, he shows up like as an adult, and in 2 of the movies they have like the B plot that is, well, I'm buying up land and selling like condos here in the valley, and they're just like, there's graboids here. What are you doing?
Fucking what? Trying to bring gentrification.
Yeah.
Not only
So this
graboids,
little
but-
jerk kid grows up to be a jerk adult.
Because then you also get the Shriekers and the Butt Blasters.
Yes.
Which
Ass
you said
blasters.
Ass Blasters.
Didn't
You
say
said-
it right.
Sorry. You said you didn't see the third one, right?
Mm-mm.
You gotta watch it.
You never
Oh.
watched that?
Because that's
I didn't see the
uh,
third one, no.
That's the introduction of the ass.
My God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love all
That's
of that.
exactly how it sounds.
That's perfect.
That's
I love
exactly
all
how
of
it
that
sounds.
so much.
Oh, it's even better than it sounds. They can spark a fire out of their booty hole, which launches them into the air. And then they have wings.
I would say they fly,
so
right?
they can
Weird
glide and
little
glide
wings,
after
though.
it. Yeah, they're glider wings. They're not for flapping.
It's like a flying squirrel, but
Yeah.
Okay.
a weird pterodactyl-esque farting slug.
Yes.
Like,
Accurate.
yeah.
Because I remember, I haven't seen the third one, but I remember a buddy of mine who has a YouTube channel is like really big into Tremors. Cecil from Horror Show is really big into Tremors, and he was talking about the flying graboids. And I remember I was like watching a show, and he talked about. I was like, when the fuck did they start flying? Because I do not remember this at all.
Yeah, it's like a whole life cycle of the graboid. So
Yeah,
it starts
it's
with the
like-
worm, and then they explode and give birth to Shriekers, which are like two-legged like ones that run around and are attracted to
The heat
heat.
seeking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they are called Shriekers because they scream a lot. And then they, after they eat so much, they literally vomit out the ass blaster.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they regurgitate an ass blaster, and then the ass blaster does its thing.
Is its
and
final form.
yeah, and then it lays eggs.
Yes.
And then that's
the
what...
eggs can turn into
The
the
graboids.
original graboids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since you guys went through all of it,
Sorry.
so you guys watched every movie,
Yeah.
the entire series. So do they ever explain where the graboids came from?
No.
Well,
They get a little
They
close
hint at it in the show, in the
Okay.
series.
in the show, and in the 4th movie is like hey, this is a Old West Tremors movie.
Yeah.
They kind of they try to explain like, oh, they found the eggs in a mine, and it got hot in a geyser, and that's how the eggs hatched.
Okay.
But then that doesn't explain why, like, in the present day, 100 years later, they come around. They just kind of,
There's only like
gloss over
13
that.
people living in this town.
Yeah, so they
like,
could have just
they
missed
might
it.
have just
Yeah.
been fine living off of everything else, and then they finally were like, wait a minute.
Because obviously we watched the first one today before filming this, and like Joe made a really good point that the fucking woman going with the seismograph stuff like by my calculations, if you look at this paper and look at this paper, none of them go ahead.
None of them look at it all. She's like, yeah, this one has this and this one has that, and they're all.
You're looking
And she
to
just
the
keeps
sky.
going, and I'm like, you are not even reading the room.
And like,
Yeah, because I think at one point they do like interrupt her and be like, "We believe you,
Yes.
lady. All right,
She
come
just
on."
kept it to her. I get it. You're smart. We
There's
get
at least
it.
3 of these.
But then they
'cause-
always keep
Yeah.
asking her, why do you think they're doing this? And she's like,
But then they
why do you think
ignore
why are you asking me? And
I know,
it's
but
like,
she was
you're
so
the scientist.
focused on like, and this graph says this, and this one says that, and they're just all looking. I'm like, you are purposely avoiding her.
I will say she was fantastic in this movie, and I
Yeah.
thought she played the role really well. And then it led to this really fucking creepy, awkward scene when you know what I'm talking about. When like she had to take her pants off because she was wrapped by the fucking barbed wire, And then you got Kevin Bacon like patching her wounds, and fucking Earl's just back there with a cigarette in his mouth, just smiling. I'm like, what are you?
Yeah.
What are you smiling? Are you smiling at like him patching her up? Are you smiling that
and
she's
they're all
like in her
sitting like
underwear?
as close as we are now? So he's just like.
Well, I think it's because he passed her off in the beginning and
He-
wanted this.
She wasn't blonde and green.
She wasn't like her type.
She has hazel eyes.
Yeah,
She
she
wasn't
green half
blonde
the
and this
time.
and that, and she wasn't the ideal. And then now he's
So,
getting close.
like rewatching this
Now
because
he
I
has the hornies.
yeah.
He saw her when she
died.
wore a pole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she can work a pole.
Well, apparently too, apparently they did not. Excuse me. They did not get together in the original ending. So again, with this test audience, that when they saw the movie for the test audience, they were cheering for Kevin Bacon to kiss her at the end of the movie, and that never happened. So they had to go back, bring them back, and reshoot the entire ending because the test audience wanted them to kiss and get together
Well,
so
when you
badly.
make that initial comment about his type and then you introduce her, you're really setting it up.
But they also set it up to where Earl was going to get with her. Because Earl was very, he was very adamant.
We don't need to be like it where everyone gets with everyone. Like, we don't have to be past.
No, but they made
just
it out to be like, Earl was like, oh, we should go back and, get to know this girl and this and that. And it's like, okay, Earl's trying to get some. That's fine. Let him meet a nice lady. He's old. He can retire. But then it winds up going to...
You can make her eggs instead of bologna and beans.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm hungry now. That sounds great. Talk about all
Well,
the
well,
food.
because,
Like shaking the coffee thing when they were talking about it. So did they make everything in the coffee, or were they just like
Oh yeah, I
shaking
made
the coffee
breakfast
thing
today.
to
You
talk
made it
about
just
it?
Yeah.
I still don't get that.
I will say I do love the Earl Val connection because they and this goes to good writing and good acting that they established their relationship so well. The rock paper scissors thing, I fucking love the rock paper scissors thing, and just how they bounced off each other was so well done. Of just oh, I lost, I guess I have to run. No, I won, so I pick, and then elbow to the fucking gut.
And then he jumps.
Yeah.
And then the whole awning just collapses.
Yeah. Fuck.
Right.
I think we see that type of relationship in a lot of movies. You and I always go back to Insidious of Hunter Ninja Bear.
Oh my god,
those moments of you just have this connection with somebody, you just make up your own.
Yeah.
We use quesadilla as a safe word to be get me out of this situation. It's quesadilla time.
And it just goes into good acting and writing that these people who you've only seen them on screen for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, you have to be hey, these two guys are actual buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are ways
How
to
do we show
imply
that?
their history without doing a lot, and those little jokes really make a difference.
And one of the things that I was reading, when they're putting up the barbed wire fence, Kevin Bacon didn't tell him that he was going to miss on the hammering.
Oh jeez.
5 times.
Yeah. So when I'm blanking on the actor's name who played Earl, when he was
Burt
his
Ward?
Burt Ward, is that?
I think his name's
No, Burt Ward is
Burt Ward
No.
is
Robin.
No,
Yeah.
his name is Burt.
Burt Gummer is.
No.
Hold on. I have a computer in my
The
hand.
actor's name is
Yeah.
Burt.
Technical
Burt Willard?
difficulties.
I'm telling you.
I want to say
it's
Burt Willard before I look it up.
definitely Burt. And
Fred? No, it's not. It is not Burt.
Because I remember being Burt
It's
Ward.
Ernie.
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward is his name. Because I remember him from Because I remember him from Naked Gun. He was in Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen.
You mean he wasn't Batman?
He was not. He was
well,
not.
I remember being
Batman.
Burt Ward. That's Robin, and then because my brain just kept.
And then that was the end of it. It was
Yeah. It was like,
Canary with a machine
Fred Ward
gun.
Can't exist. It's Burt.
I mean, Fredbird. It's why? Who hated you? Fredbird.
Fred Ward is the actor.
It's Fredward.
Fred Ward. They did not tell Fred Ward that he was doing fucking hell.
It's Fredward.
Yeah. Which R.I.P. because I think he died within the last year or two. I
We
gotta.
all died.
I want to correct myself before I put that out there.
Yeah.
But I feel like he recently passed away.
He's
2022. He was 79. He died.
Yeah.
He's the only other one that came.
Yeah, he's in the
one of
second
the.
one.
I remember him in
he's
the second one.
Because nobody else besides Burnt Gummer, him, and the little kid came back.
Wait, 'cause I was
The
reading.
little girl does.
Does
She
she?
comes back in the third one.
Is it the
Back
same
to
actor?
actress, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, that Jurassic
I'm
Park money ran out.
Right.
Well, because I was reading Kevin Bacon resented the movie because he only did it because he was he just had a kid and he was getting married, so he needed the money.
There's a couple things that reoccur in the movies that one. Earl comes back for the one movie.
Yeah, he came back in the second one. I remember.
Burt Gummer's the only one that goes through all of them. But then there's a couple different I don't know, not quite plot beats, but I guess scenes that they're just we got to recreate this for every one of these.
Yeah. The head. Finding a head one is in the Western one that they do, and it's funny because they're going through the scene and there's a hat on the ground and they go to lift it up and you're expecting there to be the head there, and there's nothing there, but then the wind blows and the tent goes in the background and then it zooms in on the guy's head in the tent. So there's stuff like that, and then there's only one scene in the original Tremors that does it, and it's towards the end when they blow up the one graboid
with the
bomb.
dynamite.
Okay.
And they all get splattered with the orange.
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
How lame was that? Because you had the potential to soak them in orange goo, and they did not.
It's
do
a
that.
little lame, but
they make up for it in every other one of them because there's at least 3 or more scenes in every other one where people are just getting drenched.
And it's not just that, oh yeah, it happens every once in a while. They make it a point in every movie that it's oh, the entire cast, including background characters, all right, line up. And just, you have to imagine, being on set that day, all the, effects people with, buckets and just big rubber bits.
There's
and
such an
just
excitement.
Yeah, people get so happy.
So everyone, the anticipation and the excitement.
And because they're killing the graboid, they also have, the reason in character to cheer and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember, when we worked on American Exorcism, they did the I guess the blood
the shotgun scene.
Yeah.
And we were all just waiting, and as soon as they see it, we just all started screaming.
Yeah.
We were so excited for watching it happen and how exciting it was to see it in real time.
Oh yeah, people love getting covered in shit, and I'm really upset that when they blew up the first graboid, none of it they didn't covered because they had the perfect shot of little Melvin to be slapped in the face with the fucking flesh, and it did not happen.
Well, I wonder sometimes if that's a crew side of things or actor side, where they specifically asked not to be.
Maybe it was in
You
the
kind
writer.
of
Maybe
you kind of have the extremes where some
or they only
people,
have 3
they-
chunks to
yeah,
throw.
They either really want it or they really don't want it.
Yeah.
And it's an extreme on both sides where they don't want it. It's also a production type of thing with timing of the cleanup to reset. So sometimes they just don't have time to
especially
cover
because
them.
in this movie everything was practical sets outside.
Yeah.
So
So
it
if
must
they
have been
if they
really
messed
rough.
that set up, they would not be able to really clean those
So it
off.
does
Something else
actually
I-
make sense that they weren't able to do as much because the amount of resets you just don't have time to clean them up with when you're playing with real time. And,
Yeah, that's true.
satellite, So,
Speaking of it being practical effects and stuff, they did save the graboid models for the other at least one of the other
Oh,
movies.
that's
They
fucking
brought them
awesome.
on because they did starting with 2. They mixed it with CGI, but they kept it practical effects up until maybe 5, 6, and 7 were the only ones that were oh, this is a lot of CGI. Everything else they do
when
anything
they're all
close
in
up practical
Antarctica
effects.
in tank tops.
I do remember that. I do remember seeing the
Honestly.
preview for that of the
Yeah.
frozen
They're
graboids.
it's global warming, so
Yeah.
it's warm enough. It's but then they wouldn't be snow.
This is definitely Antarctica and not South
Obviously.
Africa.
Yeah.
Which is where it was
don't worry
filmed.
about it.
And not that Antarctica, you might wear a light jacket. But you just be tank top.
In
Yeah.
global
Yeah.
warming times.
Yeah, and you see them sweating and stuff. And we're just
Yeah, but at the same time,
Come
we
the
just
fuck
finished
on.
watching Dinosaurs and they hit the Ice Age, and that got really
Oh yeah, we watched the dinosaur
That was-
series
I forgot how
on
sad
Disney
that
Plus.
was. It was
Yeah.
really depressing.
I was upset when Egg died in this movie because that man did not deserve
He
it.
didn't.
Yeah.
No.
And it was kind of like, right, it was like the chances of any of the other ones. Also, why didn't it go for the cooler?
Yeah.
It went for him. And
Well,
he
they
was
did
making less noise.
they did unplug it before the graboid did come up, and I think it was fucking Kevin Bacon's fault because he was like, "I got it," and then fucking came up flying. But I think they might have only had him for like 3 days, and they shot all of his stuff very quickly.
But his store survives in every.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
his like niece comes and like runs it for a lot of them.
Yeah.
His
They build
great
it
grandfather.
stronger.
His grandfather
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
is the one who like opened it, and so
In
he's in the
the
western
old-timey
one.
one, and
where
then
is-
his niece or
his-
daughter.
I think it's niece. I
Okay,
think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Where
the
does
sequels.
the movie take place? Does the movie take place in Texas? Is that what it is?
Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I was kind of curious of where it took place because the cast was.
deserts in Texas.
What?
Are there deserts in Texas?
I mean, I was listening to Reba McEntire speak, and I just assumed Texas.
Reba
Yeah.
does whatever
But she was the only one
Other-
with the accent.
other
But she does what
license
she
plates.
wants.
That's
okay?
true,
All the
yeah.
license plates were Nevada.
I don't
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
really
Because it was because
I was
like
focused on Reba just doing
But
little
even
things.
with them,
Whatever.
they mentioned like we moved to this valley.
true. That's right.
Specifically because it's
'Cause-
surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
and isolated.
Very fair.
Yeah.
They were
Which,
the
why
doomsday
would you-
preppers.
Why would
Right.
you raise a like 10-year-old daughter? Like, no wonder
Around
she
nothing.
only just does her
Pogo
pogo
stick.
stick for like
Yeah.
like a crazy like
It-
record.
And
too.
like you say, yeah, that was another really good thing because like they introduced the town very well to be like, oh hey, what's the count today? And like 600 and
Yeah.
something or whatever.
Right.
And
So
like,
when
they-
she's pogo sticking later, you're not like, what is this?
yeah, like, why is this kid
Yeah,
pogoing?
it's
Like,
like,
no,
oh,
they established that very
It's
early
her
on.
thing. Don't
I
worry.
don't know.
Yeah.
It was like somewhat realistic because I feel like as parents you'd want to have like this ideal environment for your child,
Yeah.
but you're not realizing how much the environment shapes the kid. So like with us all growing up, like you grew up in a Mennonite society, but like growing up in cities and like our experiences, might not have been the most ideal that you want to raise your
Yeah.
kids in, but it shaped us who they
Yeah.
are, and we all made choices. We're all here, whatever.
I mean,
I'm
the
still
other
alive.
Still don't shop.
Yeah.
Everyone wants that suburban, beautiful little safe home, but that's also like nothing is
But-
safe, nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
But they also like hint at that in the movie big time because like you said so they show like people's like trailers and stuff.
Exactly.
The kill that we picked, they're on site living in a trailer building their house.
Yeah, that's right.
They
Yeah.
just retired.
I completely forgot about that.
And it's that idea, like, yeah,
the
you're
only
still,
person-
you're still
the only two
working towards that, like the American
Yeah.
dream of sorts.
Yeah.
The only two people that actually have houses are the woman with the kid
Mhm.
and the Gummers
Yeah.
with their little compound.
Yeah, that's
They're
true,
the only
yeah.
ones that you actually see their houses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice because
So-
it shows them as like normal people and lower
Yeah.
income and just average people, but it's that idea you're going to die trying to fight for this American dream. And it's no ideal. Maybe,
Well, I mean,
maybe
the-
your child would have been saved.
Oh, and
The
New
whole
York.
beginning of the movie too is
There's no Tremors in New York.
Kevin Bacon
More
and the
space.
other guy like, hey,
Oh yeah, we're leaving this town.
we're getting out of
We're
here.
finally getting
We're
out of here,
finally
yeah.
getting out of here.
Yeah.
We're,
Going to
we're,
Brisbane or
we're
wherever.
moving
Yeah,
on
going
up
to
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
I remember hearing Brigsby and like other things too, and like what is so fucking great about Brigsby? Like what is in this city that people are like running to
It's
Literally.
not where they are.
That's
That's what
what
matters. Sometimes just right over there is good enough.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
But yeah, they do use it like as like a Springfield. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's the any town that
Yeah, because
you gotta
seriously, like,
go
you
to.
go in there,
We need
like
that-
what
we
is
need
there?
that
There's
account.
there's like
Yeah.
fucking there's one store, like 2 trailers and a fucking tumbleweed. Like there's
Yeah.
like nothing in this area, but they're all there. But they're
Yeah.
all there, fucking hanging out.
So
There's something
there's
adorable
the
about
Doomsday
that. At the same
Preppers.
time.
Yeah. The pottery
The
maker.
store. The woman's a pottery maker. She mentions that. So
Okay,
and
I
she
forgot-
must be
I
good
missed
enough
that.
about it that she bought a house and not a trailer.
Yeah,
So,
she was gonna hire them
like,
for a
yeah.
year's worth of work. Like,
Yeah.
she
Oh,
had
yeah,
money-
that's right.
She had money
Fuck.
to like
She knew
compensate them, and,
Yeah.
and then she kept trying to sweeten the deal of like, oh, I'll buy you
Yeah.
lunch and I'll buy you beer. Like,
Oh
she's
yeah, we
the only
gave
one
up
with-
free beer
Like,
to
she's the only
fucking.
one with
And
money.
they're like, woohoo!
Yeah, they set that tone really early that she's the only one well off in the town.
Yeah, and
No one
like
else is-
everybody else, like you see that, like the guy's got like sheep and he's hoeing away at his like little garden and stuff, and you're just like, how the hell is anything growing?
And like that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Like with the doctor and the doctor's wife, and they're building a house. Like
Not that I have freaking money, but like,
I mean, we went to art school. We know what
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's probably like one of the most endearing moments of this movie is the doctor and the doctor's wife of them, because like they set this whole thing up. Like when you watch them before they die, like you said, like they've retired, they're building their house.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my god, like they're doing it, and like you want
Yeah.
to root for them.
And then 5 seconds later,
and then he's
like,
just being
yeah.
sucked into the
And then
fucking
the
house.
generator
she's like
goes.
digging to try
Yeah.
to get him,
But
and
it's
it's
like they
like
did it,
heartbreaking.
yeah, it's done
the
so
stand and
well.
like their screaming was just so
Yeah.
brutal.
And
like
for-
it was such a short moment, but it was so intense for that moment.
Yeah.
Like it's just you
Yeah,
really.
and
wanted
for
to
somebody that
survive.
again is introduced and
Yeah.
dies in the same
Yeah,
freaking
and then you think like
scene.
she's gonna survive, and then the whole
Right?
fucking car goes
Yeah,
on.
because like,
there.
oh, she's got, and she's
Like,
she's
all right,
off the
she's in the
ground.
car. Yeah, she's
She's
still
off the
out
ground.
the
Yeah.
window. Like that's fine, and then the whole fucking car goes, and you're like,
Mhm.
shit.
But then that just shows how like smart the graboids
Absolutely.
are.
Oh my
Like,
God,
how
that-
they keep
Absolutely.
changing the game on everyone.
That fucked me up.
Yeah.
Because
They
like when they were
pushed the
doing
bomb back.
yeah,
Yeah.
like when they were doing the fishing thing and he spit it out, and then like
Yeah, you see it in the air, and you're like, oh.
and then when
fuck,
they're
that's really
standing
cool.
there and they're trying to make the noise, and he's like, no, like this one didn't move. That fucked me up. Like revisit, like as a kid, I feel like it probably messed me up. Of like it can adapt. As an adult watching it, I'm like, oh wait a minute, like that's animal instinct. That's
Yeah.
Well,
that's
they
like
waited
kicking
for
in.
hours. Like they'll wait you out.
Yeah.
One way or the other, you're gonna die, and
Right.
that was even scarier. It's like there is no.
Right? It's like I'm not even needing to eat you.
Yes.
want you
I just
to
want
die.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary.
I don't need
It's
you.
like-
I want you.
It's
Yeah.
like, but they wanted to
You'll
torture
die
you.
and
Like,
maybe
they
your
could have
corpse
died
will
to
fall
you, but they
eventually,
wanted to
like
torture you in
the guy
process.
that died in the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh my
It's
god.
really scary, like that intelligence level of like
Mhm.
they know what they're doing. It's
And, like-
Yeah, and it also keeps like the movie fresh too, because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can't
You
just
never
be
know
like,
what
all
they're
right,
gonna adapt to,
we
yeah.
figured out the bomb
Yeah.
thing. We're just gonna sit here, and that's the
Yeah,
next
it was
half hour
too
of the
easy.
movie.
Exactly, yeah, it was too easy. They had to push it back.
Yeah. And like
Change it.
And like one of the cool thing is too, like as smart as the graboids got, like Kevin Bacon, his character Val made like a really good point. He's like, no, like they're not smarter than us, and that's when he leads to like the big ending when he flies out the mountain,
Yeah,
which was like the gnarliest fucking thing,
yes,
which is really fucking great because it was also like a callback to the beginning of the thing
Yeah,
where they
the
outran
first
the one that
one.
went through like the little dam
Yeah.
and got killed by like the concrete.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, that's a really good like callback and wrap around to be like, yeah, he chased them out to that point. He can do it again. And with Val knowing the land, like there's a cliff over there,
yeah.
I can outsmart it. And I was like, that's really fucking good.
Mm.
Like it's not like at this point, let's get into like final thoughts. But like it's not a perfect movie, but it is damn near close to being like they thought about everything like from a standpoint of entertainment and logistics of how it could
Yeah.
work.
Because the whole time too, like one shooting location in the town and everything like that we talked about a lot. Like,
Mm.
and then they just mention right away, okay, there's mountains here and here and here.
That's why you can't get out.
That's why we can't. The one road out of town. That's why we can't just like drive across the desert
Yeah.
this way to get out.
That's what I
Like,
also loved about it. It's like the vulnerability of open air and just having nowhere to really hide besides just
Yeah.
open boulders is terrifying.
And like the second they mention like Bert, you have that truck, you have the only truck that can go up that path. What do the graboids do? They flatten the fucking tires. They go right
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
fucking
It's
thing.
amazing.
And it's so fucking good how they do that.
yeah.
And
Great
the good thing
movie.
is, it's 34 years old and still watching it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it came
Still
out
watching
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
in 1990, right?
Like-
When it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like a couple shots where you're just like, oh yeah, the graboids are just a big rubber monster, but like they're very like it's a flash that you
Yeah.
kind of go,
But I think
wait,
that-
goofy looking.
Great, but still
Otherwise,
awesome
like the
looking
creature
at the same
design's
time.
awesome.
Oh, they look great
The
and
effects
are
very believable
awesome.
for what
Yeah.
they were.
They remind me of giant. Circling back to Wrath of Khan. The worm, the earworm.
Oh,
that
yeah.
they put in Chekhov's ear It kind of is like, I mean, a very small version of it, but a similar kind of
Well, with
design.
the creature design too, besides trying to make it not look like a penis, the other thing they talked about was like they specifically were like, okay, we have to make the head look like it's something that can actually like burrow and have a little strength behind it.
What
and
else?
be
It
like
has
a
the tendons on
they
it.
addressed all that. They
Through.
addressed the entire
Yeah.
structure of them, and it's all
I know.
well
Hey,
thought
here
out.
it's got the little spines here, there, and everywhere on the outside of the body to propel it.
You can tell that they really took time to consider how this creature is going to exist.
And
in
then the
that
fact that
universe.
they then went on to do like all the other stuff like Alien and Mars Attacks.
Yeah. Like it makes sense for like how they were able to structure it.
And the fact that this was one of their early, if not first, ones that.
Well, no, they did do like Abyss and Terminator 2, which came out previous to it.
But Abyss, but like any other like creature design
true,
stuff,
yeah.
because
Well,
that's what I'm.
When did
like
Starship Troopers come out?
Definitely after that.
Which is funny because I feel like the bug design in that is very like reminiscent.
It definitely is. Like the Starship Troopers
does like a little nod.
Yeah,
like,
it's in that same family.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, and like I'm gonna go on a little tangent. It's kind of like Killer Clowns from Outer Space and the Trolls and Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yes.
Same design, same costumes for Killer Clowns redesigned to look like trolls.
Yes.
So it's the same idea that they did with Starship Troopers, possibly.
Was it Killer Clowns and Ernest, or was it Ernest and Trolls?
It was Killer Clowns and
were
Ernest.
used for.
Yeah, because it was the Chiodos brothers that did Killer Clowns and
The
Ernest
only
Scared
clown
Stupid.
thing that doesn't just straight up give me nightmares.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest question is, do you guys think that the little like tongue snaky things, are they like, is it like a hive mind type thing, or are they actual tongues? Do they eat? Like, what do you guys think about?
Because they do have like
They
little
grab,
mouths.
they
They
got
do.
little teeth sometimes.
I think it's a xenomorph mentality.
Okay.
Which goes back to them doing Aliens previous to this. So I think it's a xenomorph mentality to where it is nothing more than another appendage, is where I think.
I got one other thing. Almost every single cover and poster for this is the tremor coming up like this. And for the sequels and stuff too, it's a big open mouth with a bunch of teeth.
It's because it's like one of the
The actual graboids don't have teeth.
No, it's
the
those weird like
it's
lockjaw
like a
things.
little-
The fourth one, I think,
Yeah.
is the first one that actually has the grab
Well,
On the cover,
well, the
but
poster-
but the cover, the
Yeah.
poster, like it's
Marketing.
almost like a Jaws thing.
Well,
or
that's
something.
where it came from.
Yeah.
Because Universal
But it doesn't look
designed
like
the poster.
freaking
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It got you to watch the movie, didn't it?
Right.
no, it being on like
I looked at the
TV
cover
when
and
I
I
was
was
a
like,
child.
"No,
Gotta go watch it.
Well, because that's where it came from. It did come
Yeah.
from
One
the
does not
remnants
have
of
to
Jaws
relate
to
to get
But
that
it just
audience.
makes me laugh because it looks nothing like the
I
grab
love
it.
That
blades.
makes me
It's
love
just
it
like
even
here's
more.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's
One
like
doesn't
they
always
took
do
the
that.
tongue.
Is there
And
going to be
they're like-
another
One of the
sequel where
tongues, yeah.
it's another
Well,
like
even, like,
form
even,
after
like-
the ass blaster? Like here's the one that actually has teeth.
But that's just marketing, because we worked on a movie for someone else that they had artwork that made sense to the movie, and then they changed it to a scene from American Exorcist.
Oh, yeah.
That the artwork that was chosen made no fucking it was an but the shot that they used was 2 seconds.
Of the movie,
Of the
yeah.
movie, and
But
then-
that was
I-
that's what happens when
I
the
know,
studio takes
I know,
over
but it's
and
like
they
when you
make that
looked at
choice.
it, you're like,
Right.
this is a second.
Did you even watch the movie?
And that's
That's
fucking
the
thing because like
original artwork,
the
and
original
that's-
artwork was done
and
by
that's
an
where,
artist
like-
that fit the movie.
Yeah.
And then
that's
same
what we've
thing.
been so shitty about when
Like,
we take
and-
technology all of our stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense for like Tremors 1, but straight to DVD Tremors 2,
At
which
that point,
presumably you watch Tremors 1,
Yeah.
shouldn't it have the...
But you know what? Though? That's the mentality of being familiar.
Yeah.
Blanking on the word. But being familiar with something, like you see it, and it's
But-
like, oh my god, I want to grab this because I know that this
When
is
I
But
Tremors.
if you think about it,
Because
back
it
in the
is,
day, we were in Blockbuster and what looks cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was all about watching, like grabbing whatever looked interesting in Blockbuster.
Well, because that's like
Different moment in
anything.
time.
That's like anything that Asylum Pictures puts out, where they will deliberately change a few words. Like there's Transformers, but they have Transmorphers.
Yeah.
So the idea
Snakes
is
on a train.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I
Easier.
got you that movie you wanted,
Yeah.
and you're like, that's
And like that's what they do.
But we have
Yeah.
Transformers at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, what are your final thoughts on
I
the
love
first Tremor and the first kill and the kill of the week that
Okay.
we're talking about?
I mean, I love Tremors. I grew up on it. It's iconic. It's a comfort blanket of a movie that I watched with my dad. So it's exciting to be able to revisit that moment in time of my life and remember why I loved it so much. I think the kill was intense and slow and sad, and it just, I loved them. And they have 2 seconds and they retired, and they're like, well, fuck, we're never going to be able to retire. We'll just die. And it just was like, it was perfect because it wasn't the most intense kill, but it was dramatic in its own ways, and that's why it had power to it.
Yeah. Sean?
I'd like to echo the same thing. It was definitely something I grew up with, and I would put it like straight in the line of the stuff I loved as a kid in that same genre with like Jaws and Jurassic Park and like just big monster movie kind of thing like that. And the kill in particular, again, like it's that first reveal of, okay, this guy died in a tower. This guy, something weird happened. We just found his head. But then this one, you actually see him getting sucked into the ground. And it's just like, oh, shit just got real.
No?
Yep, same thing. With, grew up on it. It's definitely a comfort movie. Obviously, I wrote 70 pages off of a single scene to create a game. The Jim the Doctor and his poor wife, just...
Who has no name?
Who has her name? I think her name is Megan.
Something like that. But it's credited as, like, name the doctor's
Megan.
wife.
Megan, but
Megan, the doctor's wife.
It is the doctor's wife, Megan.
Yeah, in the credits. Yeah.
Just how, like, you don't need to know much about these characters, but you already are, like, connecting and feeling with them, and the fact that you're seeing for the first time what's kind of actually going on, and how kind of fast and scary it can be, and stuff like that, how, the whole overall, like, these things are smarter than you realize. It's not just like, I guess a lot of monsters are smart, but yeah.
I think it's the idea of like what's hiding in the dark, not seeing the entire creature. It's what your imagination is, letting you build up to the imagination of what you see.
Right, because then, at first you're like, wait, that
This is the first time you see parts of it, then you keep seeing more and more parts of it. So I think that's
Then you see
special.
the big fucker come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say for me, like, ditto to everyone, one of those, like, growing up movies. Because, like, I remember watching it, like, I used to go to my uncle's house on Sunday nights, and we would watch, like, Sci-Fi would do, like, the B movies on Sunday nights.
Yep.
So I would go to my uncle's house, and we would always watch whatever was, and, like, that's how I found, like, Army of Darkness and things like that. It would play those movies. Tremors was one of them. And it was, like, one of those things where it was just, like, if... I could be wrong, but I remember it being, like, the first, like, B movie that I remember seeing of, like, giant monster attacks small town and terrorizes it. And, like, the impact of, like, monsters being cool as fuck. And, like, oh my god, this thing, like, yeah, like you said, like, you see the tongue, and then, oh my god, there's more to the tongue than, like, you would imagine. And just, like, how cool it was, and, like, watching it as an adult and watching it as a writer and just seeing, like, how they were able to basically, like, sum up years of this town in 5 minutes, and how fantastic that is as, like, a creator to be like, I'm going to make you know these characters, I'm going to make you love these characters, and in just a short amount of time that
And
these
half
people
them die.
and have them die, and then you're gonna feel bad that they died.
Yeah.
You know, like with the doctor going down, like everyone's saying, like they're retired, they're starting their lives, they're able to live off the land and do what they want to do after working so hard for so many years, and then dead. Fucking Egg from Big Trouble in Little China running the store and just being ripped down into the fucking thing, which I felt bad for laughing because there's the part when it's the obvious stunt double and the graboid is like spinning it and he's like trying to grab at everyone, and I'm just like, oh my god, I feel bad for laughing because I really like this guy, but he died. But yeah, it's definitely one of those movies that it's just like it's so endearing, it's so charming, and it's 90s B movie at its fucking finest.
With the most wild cast of people.
Yeah, it was a great cast for the time period.
Ridiculous combination.
Like, oh my god, they were so
Because,
good.
like,
Holy Rust of Metal, man.
But yeah, like Reba McEntire was in it. Kevin Bacon was actually famous already.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's funny too, I was reading that like the director did not want Reba. Like Reba auditioned for this role.
huh?
You don't audition.
Which is
You just take
Well, she chose to audition.
You don't
Because he
audition.
didn't want her to be a part of it because he's like, oh, are all these like musicians and celebrities are trying to gain notoriety, and I just don't want that. Then she came in, she read for the role, and she fucking killed it. And it's like, you know what? No, she's perfect for the role.
yeah.
Because
Which
she
is
wasn't
funny
Reba.
because then
Because she's
she
Reba.
Yeah.
just totally would not be in any of the sequels.
No.
Which is not
There are just,
surprising.
but
but
there are just some people you just don't turn down. Like Dolly Parton walks in and whatever the fuck you
Oh,
want
yeah.
Dolly,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Sure.
Like, you don't turn these people down.
No.
I don't care what year it is.
Exactly. So thank you guys for watching the new episode of Kill of the Week. You can follow all of this stuff on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook under Jerks Productions. Find all my stuff there. You can also find me on Letterboxd. I believe my username on Letterboxd is Falcone665. Joe, where can everyone find you and your little side gig?
In addition to Dirks Productions, I also run 8213 Desserts on Instagram and Facebook.
Cool. And how about you guys? Where can everybody find your stuff at?
So best place to look at what we're doing at the current moment, Meldar16, MELDAR16 on Instagram. Then, from there you can find the store where we sell all our stuff. Our big thing right now, tabletop games. We have Dungeons Dragons modules. We have some of our own indie tabletop games. Our big project is going to be called I Got a Knife. We're crowdfunding it for all of February as part of Zine Month. That's a big tabletop push for new indie makers to put what they got out there. So we have I Got a Knife coming out. It's a murder mystery game, good for 2 or more players. All the rules, little plot hooks and everything, all going to be included with the game. So check that out.
Cool. And everything all the links will be available in the description below for you guys to click and support local art and indie film as well. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks with another episode of Kill the Week.